We do have a quorum present, and we'd like Dr. Doster, if you go to the meeting for us.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
May we pray? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the beauty of this world. We thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon us. We thank you for the rain that's come our way, particularly in the last day or two. And Lord, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve the people of this county and to deliberate with your guidance and to make decisions with your guidance concerning the education of our children. We ask your special blessings upon all the teachers and administrators and other personnel that have begun this new school year. May the excitement of the beginning of the year carry throughout all the learning process this entire year. All these things we ask in thy name. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the approval of the agenda, and I believe we have a request to address the board, citizens request, and I'd like to add that right after.
I would make a recommendation that we do that and add that after we come back from executive session.
Okay. Motion agenda approved as amended. Okay. Seconded. Dr. Doster. All right. All in favor, signify by raising your hand, and that's unanimous. Okay. Next, we have executive session. We have a few items: personnel,
Land acquisition, and litigation.
And litigation. Okay, so we
I
have
move to go
3 out of 4.
executive session for personnel, discuss personnel, land acquisition, and litigation.
Okay. Motion by Dr. Doster, second by Mr. Evans. All in favor, signify by raising your hand, and that is everything. Unanimous. All right.
And the purpose of it is help first through third graders to be able to read and pass the test in third grade. He said, and I have not been able to confirm this, that the prison systems look at the pass-fail rate and the literacy test in third grade to determine how many prisons they are going to need to build in the future. And so I think it's very important for us to help our children to read. The school system does a marvelous job. The county, the citizens really appreciate the job you're doing, but we would like to help. I've talked to several people, and they're pretty excited about this program too. What it is basically we would set up a program. We would train, go through all the background checks, the fingerprints, and then they would just come in and help the first through third graders learn to read. Sit down, sometimes it'll be one-on-one, sometimes it'll be a smaller group. And in Bartow County, they were at about a 70% pass rate. I understand we're at 83% on the third grade literacy test. And they increased 27%.
Almost 9%.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're meaning,
Percentile or percent?
no, sir, the number of kids who are reading on or above grade level, or just the percent of students who pass the reading test?
See, I don't even know the answer to that. I don't know there's a
It was an
difference.
improvement.
That's right, that's
It
right.
was an improvement.
Yeah, I think they passed the test. I assumed incorrectly, apparently, that it was the same thing as at or
They're just two
above.
different ways to look at it, but that's still.
Yeah. I'm not an expert in this field at all, but I do have a lot of contacts within the community with the Ministerial Association. I did mention it to them, and they're very supportive. And just if y'all would like for us to try to get a large group of volunteers to come in and help read with the children, it would take some pressure off the teachers, and it should help. It would be totally under the school board, the teachers, the principals, but it would just give you a volunteer base to work with.
Well, we
That's
appreciate
probably
that.
about my 3 minutes.
That's about, yeah, so we, and even with the small groups we have, because we make sure that our kids are working based on their reading levels, and a lot of times they're in different groups. It would be very helpful to have help with those individual groups. That's one of the things that we're working with our young teachers on.
Right.
is if I'm working with a small group, then who's working with that other small group? So if we have volunteers, we'll have a lot of people that'll be able to work with each group and with each kid. So that's a good idea. So we're very happy to have that opportunity to have some more volunteers in the school system.
In Bartow County, they had 4 schools that they started with last year, and it was such a success. They had about 150 volunteers, but it was such a success, they want to go county-wide with it. They've got 12 elementary schools, and they're looking for between 450 and 500 volunteers. On the bottom there, you'll see a website you can go to and look at it, continue to research. But we just wanted to see if there was interest.
And as a matter of fact, if I could go on and share this, Ms. Elder has already scheduled a meeting with Reverend Harris and our elementary principals for Friday to talk about this program. So we look forward to some positive results.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda. We have approval of minutes for 3 sets, July 9th, July 29th, and August 6th, 2 of which were called meetings. Okay. 2 were called. 2 were called, 1 was regular. Motion by Ms. Pettigrew, minutes be approved, seconded by Ms. Bilderback. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. And that's unanimous. All right. And next, consent items. Fundraiser requests.
I'm gonna pull those up. There's lots of them because it's the beginning of the year, so, There's a lot of them. That's why I wanted to call them out one by one, but let me see if I can make that a little bigger so you can see a little bit. Is that a little better? But these are from elementary schools, and there's some even from, on the back page here, from Mary Persons and the Achievement Center. So lots of things that they're usually planning for the year, and a lot of these come at this time. Most of them come at this first meeting, so we've got a lot of them. Hopefully you had a chance to peek over them. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's a lot.
Who makes the world's finest chocolate? You're involved. Okay.
And the field trip request that we have is our spring field trip with Hubbard. Takes their 4th graders, their 5 classes that go to the aquarium in the spring. So we would be asking permission for them to continue to do that. They've done that probably, I don't know, the past 6 or 7 years, going to the aquarium. Bigger.
Actually, it's not, it's still in the winter time.
All right, there we go with that. And we do have the last consent item that we do. We always do this at our August meeting. Is our CTAE plan. And I don't know if anybody's had an opportunity to look over that. Ms. Caldwell, do you want to just say what that local plan is so the board members are aware?
Sure. So every year we are required to submit a local plan in order to get our CTAE federal funding. And so this year is no different, and we'll be submitting the plan. Well, we actually have the plan, it just has to be board approved, and then we can receive the funds. But we get about $30,000 for program improvement. That's how we pay our teachers extended day when they sponsor clubs. That's how we pay our ag teachers for extended year. So we get several different portions of money, but it's all based on this local plan. And we have to meet 8 core indicators, and we met all of our 8. So at that point, we can start writing our plan for how we plan to spend the money. And so we use a lot of it for staff and equipment for our construction, automotive, and agricultural labs, and computers, and those types of things.
It's
But
45
that's the actual
pages. It's a
plan.
long document. That's why it's a very long document. Does anybody have any questions about the local plan and what we have to put that plan together to submit to be approved for the gift money? So.
And I will say that Perkins 4, this is the last year for Perkins 4. Perkins 5 has been authorized. It is different, so we don't really know what it'll look like for next year. But we've done this Perkins 4 local plan for several years, but we anticipate next year being a little bit different. the process.
When did the Carl Perkins grant
I
start?
think back in the 1936, it was a lawmaker that had a heart for CTAE and made sure that it was in the federal funding. Okay.
Any questions for Sandy?
Sounds good.
All right, so items be approved.
Tell me you need it yesterday.
Okay, I can do that.
Got a motion by Dr. Goss that the consent items be approved as presented, and seconded by Ms. Pettigrew. All in favor, signify by raising your hand, and that's also acknowledged.
Thank you.
Now we have Monroe County Student Friends of Education. I am going.
Can you pull that up, Deidre, for us? Good evening. Tonight, we would like to recognize one of our outstanding community and business partners as this quarter's Friend of Education Award recipient. Our Friend of Education Award recognizes those business and community partners who have made a significant impact on education through their giving and service. Tonight's recipient is Oglethorpe Power. Oglethorpe Power has sponsored professional learning opportunities for our CTAE teachers and donated funds for multiple projects, including building an electric car. In addition, they have provided field trip opportunities for our students at the Georgia EMC Training Center in Smar. Through the Georgia Energy and Industrial Construction Consortium, or GEEC, Oglethorpe Power has supported CTAE Pathways by sponsoring Careers in Energy Week and providing career outreach support to counselors, teachers, and students interested in utility industry careers. They have also worked to bring industry professionals to speak about careers and the skills necessary to work in industry. Representatives from Oglethorpe Power serve on the CTAE Advisory Council as well as the Superintendent's Parent and Community Advisory Council, providing valuable input on behalf of the utility industry. Last year, Oglethorpe Power began helping our school system with our REACH scholarship program. This program targets upcoming 8th graders and provides college scholarship opportunities to students, many of whom will be the first person in their family to attend college. Each scholarship cost the participating school system $3,500. Last year, Oglethorpe Power sponsored one of these scholarships, but we're extremely happy to announce that this year they were able to sponsor 2 scholarships through their generous donation of $7,000 to this meaningful program. Oglethorpe Power, we appreciate all you have done and continue to do with supporting student and staff success in Monroe County schools. Tonight, we honor Oglethorpe Power as a Friend of Education for Monroe County schools. Congratulations. We have the following employees and partners from Oglethorpe Power here to accept the award. We have Bill Foley, who is resident manager at Plant Sharer, and Diane McLaren, Director of Communication and External Affairs at Oglethorpe Power. Please join us up front for your award. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And y'all are getting a little bit different.
Yeah. You want to explain what's different than that one?
Well, I didn't put it together. So that's the way it sounded like I did it. Why don't one of y'all?
Well, we actually used to have the, Deidre, you want to tell them what's different? Does anybody notice? Yeah, we actually did the auditorium where all of the Friends of Education in the past pictures, but we moved to the Fine Arts Center. So Jackson so graciously took a good picture, a black and white photo that was centered just right. And that will be on our new Friends of Education Award moving forward. So you got to do an inaugural.
Right.
We feel double special.
We spent all this money on this building and we don't take pictures.
But we do appreciate Oglethorpe Power and all they do.
Thank you.
You want to kind of share that?
You want to share it? And I have to tilt it down, and then tilt it down for me so that it looks
Glare.
right. Perfect. Okay, big smiles, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Oh, I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
It's all right.
All right, thank you. That's your
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Penny High, student achievement and success. Opening of the school, Mr. Superintendent.
All right, just a little update on the beginning of the school year. I think today was our 8th day, I think that's correct. And things seem to be going well in all of our schools. Just a little update with system enrollment. That's always a big question for us at the beginning of the year. And as of today, we have 4,142 students enrolled in Monroe County schools. Mary Persons High School has 1,177. Monroe County Middle School has 941, which is up a little bit. Catherine B. Sutton Elementary is 627. That number is up a little bit. Samuel Hubbard is 660, and T.G. Scott is 737. So basically, with our one of the things, well, why do we worry about enrollment? So when we start school, we always plan for the amount of kids that we had in the previous year. So when we roll those over, there's a certain number of kids in every grade and at each school. So what can happen, we get a lot of enrollees during the summer, and depending on what grades they are, it may cause us to have staff issues as far as what those numbers look like. So this year, we did have an issue with a little bit of high numbers in kindergarten. And in kindergarten, we have basically had around 24 and 25 in some of the classes, a lot of the classes at T.G. Scott and at KB Sutton. So that's too many, and typically we look to be around 21, somewhere in there. We have a waiver to go up to 23, but that's one you don't want to waver in, believe me. With those little kids, you need to have those numbers low. So we have already actually used existing staff at T.G. Scott. We pulled a 3rd grade teacher where they could absorb the numbers and not go above too many in those classes, and moved a teacher to kindergarten and hired a parapro, and we actually started that class today. So we visited, and it's going really well. And the kindergarten teachers are very, very happy, the other ones that had the 26 and 27. So the number, I think, was 19 in that new classroom that we visited, which is very doable. It's a lot better situation for the kids and for our staff. At KB Sutton, we don't have room to actually take somebody from another grade level, because if we move them, the numbers will go up too high in that grade level. So we actually have posted the position online, and hopefully we have to post that for 10 days. Hopefully we'll have someone that's interested in that and can bring that to the board. I think we've got a call meeting on the 22nd. We're hopeful that we can bring something there to provide some help for those teachers, because they have 24 and 25 in there right now. We did reach out and offer them to have some substitute teachers serve as extra paras in those rooms, and they said just for right now they'll handle them with their paraprofessionals, and they'll be fine until we get the new hire. So everything is good. Hopefully we've got help on the way there. In all the other classrooms, we're well within the state range for the grade levels and classrooms. So the teachers should be extremely happy and be able to teach the kids, and the kids should be learning high level in all of our classes. So we feel good about enrollment, even though it's up. We feel good because it was only 2 things that we had to do to adjust to it. And really we didn't have to do a whole lot of middle and high school where we normally have that. So that was good news. Just a little update on the renovations. We did phase 1 at 2 different campuses this summer. So phase 1 at the middle school, and many of you that have children there know that we did a lot of work with the parking lots and the staging lines out in front of the school. And I think that process helped, along with the work that the county did with the bypass lane on Thornton Road. And so it's not going to solve every problem, but I think it's made it a lot better in the mornings, where people can get into the middle school and get by to get to T.G. Scott. In the afternoon, because we have so many kids being picked up, we do still have a little bit of traffic in the afternoons. Once we get and release, it moves, but even with the staging lines, we had the first Friday, and then the next Friday, I think we had close to between 250 and 270 cars picking up kids. That's a lot of cars. And so we move them quickly, but they actually peel back around, and we handle the middle school traffic because we have a place for them to go. The charge for us moving forward is to come up with some way to handle the T.G. Scott back out traffic that comes out on Thornton Road in the afternoon. And I thought about different things. I mean, we're always trying to think it may be that we have to adjust release times, but we'd have to stick to that. Like if we did early grade levels a little bit sooner, and maybe get those parents in and get them out. But that would require the older kids' parents to wait a little bit. So we're maybe looking at some options there. I talked to Sergeant Blandenberg, and we really would love people to be able to access through Montpelier. But you know what the problem with coming from Montpelier is, the high school. So, you know, we'd like to get on Facebook and Twitter and tell everybody, if you're picking up a T.G. Scott, come from the Montpelier side. That way you don't have to make that turnaround in the road, but you can get stuck in traffic there. So we're working to try to come up. It's just a lot. I told somebody we have, I think it's 42% of our children in the whole district, of those 4,142, go to school on Thornton Road. So it's just a lot of kids, a lot of traffic. It's a better situation, but we still have some work to do. We'll continue to try to work with the Sheriff's Department and our staff to try to make that better. I think they've done some things at the middle school with some cones to kind of slow some of that traffic down a little bit, because up there around the front office, it's 3 lanes and it's wide open and it moves real quick, but it's almost too quick, so we're having to slow some folks down.
I have been there the last 4 days, but has anything been done to address that problem of 8th grade parents not being able to get in the line?
Well, we are trying to get that. That is an issue, because once it backs up, when they come into the actual staging area, it's 2, it goes to 3, and sometimes an 8th grade parent might, and what the other problem we had was the 8th grade parents would see that that line was open, and they would try to come up to the front of the line and get in there, and so we kind of stopped that. But right now, we have tried to keep that inside fire lane open.
I'm not talking about fire lane.
I understand, but we still have some of that backing out into that, into Charles Way.
2 days I was picking up, there was like one person in that 8th grade lane, and the whole rest of the lane was empty.
That's right, and that's what we're, and so we put somebody down there to help make sure that filters up through there and gets them out of the way. It would be great if we had a little more space there. We might look at that in the future to try to, it's 2 lanes that go into 3.
And that one little turn is
it does that. But we'll work on that. I think all in all, everywhere that I've spoke, we actually spoke to a group the other night, and we actually got a standing ovation from some of the parents because of at least the morning traffic is a lot better. I mean, it's a lot better. Now, afternoon, everybody gets there at the same time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just common sense. It's going to back up. You're going to have to have a little wait time with that. But we're trying to improve it. We're getting better and better every day. So that's going well. And then at the high school, I think the staff and students really were looking forward to a lot of the changes on the landscape around the campus, the epoxy floors in the foyer and back in the commons area. And we did replace ceiling tiles, lighting, with LED lighting. And we did all the 500 hall and half of the 200 hall in phase 1 this summer. And so we did that in what, 2 months? A little over, 2 months is what it was. And so we will finish up that project for the rest of the classrooms next summer. And I would encourage you, if you get a chance, to stop by the high school and look at that. It looks really good. When you come in the front, we've always wanted it to be something that had what we call curb appeal when you came in the front door, and it has that now with that epoxy floor. We've got the mayor person's insignia on the floor, and it looks really good, and it should last for a long, long time. So we're happy to have that. I think the kids are excited, and there was a lot of excitement at all of our schools as we visited. Knock on wood, it's been a very calm and good start of school. So we're fortunate for that. And one last thing that I'd like to speak to is we have one of the things that we at Central Office, we're support folks, so we want to make sure all of our people have the things that they need to do to be successful. We do have 34 new teachers and 13 new paraprofessionals in the school district. So we have been making sure that our principals, our assistant principals, and our instructional coaches have been in those rooms and been helping those teachers along. Sometimes you don't want to wait too long to provide that help. in a new year, so we're doing that, and we've got good feedback so far. Miss Elder and myself have been in a lot of the classrooms, and our new folks are really doing a good job. They're working hard. They want to do a good job, and that's a good, if somebody wants to do well, we can coach it. And we've got a lot of people wanting to do the right thing. So everything's going well right now in the system. We've got a few kinks with the traffic and stuff, but overall, I think it's been a wonderful start to the school year. And we look forward to 172 more of those type days in the future. Does any board members have any questions about start of school or anything that we might need to work on or that you've heard about?
I'll tell you what, the commons area and the other entrance coming in there, I've never seen the floor done quite like that, but it is some more impressive. It really is.
We didn't know that brick was going to come through in the commons area like that, you know, the imprint of the brick, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's just so bad.
All right.
Just a comment, Dr. Mercer's the example I would use. When situations do come up with difficulties and information not there, your staff is just so excellent to get right onto it and addressing the situation before it becomes a problem. So that it be a challenge. Dr. Mercer's just been a great example of that. And I'm sure all the rest of the staff is too. That's why we have a smooth open.
We're blessed to be able to do what we do, and service is what it's all about. And I think that's the way we look at what we do, is we're serving our children and the community every day, which is a blessing. So, anything else? All right, we can go to Ms. Elder with literacy.
Good evening. I want to address everyone about one of our system areas of focus, which is improving literacy and numeracy levels for all students. We know reading is the most crucial academic skill because it is the foundation for learning. And so throughout the year, it is very important not only our district level, but also our schools focus on improving literacy and numeracy. Okay. This chart in front of you, we did mention this to you, I guess, last month or the month before whenever we were looking at performance from the Georgia milestones. But this chart displays our district's performance on the English language arts portion of the milestones and whether students are reading on or above grade level according to an identified Lexile stretch band. If you'll take a look at the black bars, they signify Monroe County Schools data, and the gold bars signify the state performance. In every tested grade, Monroe County Schools outperformed the state, and we also outperformed the state in all but 2 grade levels by at least 10% or more. And our performance is largely attributed to the literacy supports and initiatives that we have in our school system that focus on foundational reading and literacy skills. Now, one of the documents that we have used systemically for the past 11 years is called MCBOE, or Monroe County Balanced Literacy Initiative. And this document creates an infrastructure for illiteracy prevention and intervention. And I have given each of you a copy of this document that we use to structure our literacy practices around the system. From this document, we strive to reach 4 goals that become the basis of rigorous instruction. And I want to review those 4 goals with you. We want to ensure that all of our children are able to read well, read independently, and on grade level by the end of 3rd grade. We want to ensure that all children become proficient readers and writers and are able to put literacy to work in the real world by the end of 5th grade. We also want to develop a research-based professional development system that will assist reading teachers
and the delivery of best instructional practices which maximize reading gains for all students. And lastly, we want to improve students' literacy skills and mastery of content area standards by intertwining content area instruction with explicit instruction in reading and writing. And that pertains primarily with grades 6 through 12. So the document that you have, it outlines the goals that we have for reading in our district, and it also contains a lot of information. So in that document, which you can take and read on your own, but I want to highlight some of those content. So we have basically in there the components of a literate environment. So when we're in classrooms, observing teachers, just visiting, we want to look to see if our classrooms have enlarged text on the walls. Does the teacher have poems or shared writing samples that are at eye level for the children to be able to read? We look for teacher-made charts with information. We look to see, is there a writing area, especially in elementary school? Is there a rug, an area where the teacher can sit with the students on the rug and read books to children? We look for easels, just all different types of objects and items to make for a literate environment. This document also outlines what a literacy block should look like. So it set forth guidelines for how much time should be spent for a teacher to devote towards reading and writing, and it depends on the grade level, and how much time we should focus on phonics instruction, guided reading instruction, which would be your small group time, read alouds that our teachers will do with our children, how much time they should spend on grammar and writing. So it's a really good structure for how to base that literacy block in our schools. It also contains research-based practices, so it may provide some strategies as well as some definitions for literacy components. So if you want to know more about what phonemic awareness is versus phonics, there's some definitions provided in this document. It also gives you some guidance on support for at-risk learners and just some direction on where to go to if a child is a struggling reader. We also added a component this past year because this document, when it was created 11 years ago, it only encompassed K through 5. So I met with the instructional coach from the middle school and the high school instructional AP, Tammy Marion, and we developed some strategies for literacy instruction at the secondary level. We just wanted to give the teachers, the reading teachers at the middle and high school, just a few pointers to remember when they're teaching reading and some effective strategies. Okay. So when we think about instructional supports that are in place, generally 80% of our students respond to supports provided to all students through our curriculum. And those are what we call Tier 1 supports or prevention. And if you'll take a look at this slide, I've listed pretty much all of our Tier 1 supports that we provide for all children in grades K through 5. So again, we have our Monroe County Balanced Literacy Initiative, and inside that initiative, we have the structures that are in place for in a literacy block, which would be your read aloud, your shared reading, your guided reading, your independent reading. And also we have our instructional units that our teachers teach from each and every day. We developed a few years ago, we implemented a few years ago a program in our pre-K, even though this document pertains just for K through 5 and all the way up through high school. We wanted to add a piece for our pre-K. So we added the Sounds Abound Phonological Awareness Program. So our children are being exposed to some research-based strategies even in pre-K. We also have implemented the SRA Imagine It Phonics program in grades K through 2. And this is in addition to what they are receiving through their basal or their reading program. This year we are also adding a portion called Phonemic Awareness to our literacy block to help children in that area. We have, of course, Start Early Literacy and Start Reading in every school. We have the Accelerated Reading Program, where we have AR goals and incentives set up for children when they reach certain reading levels. We also have a Sight Word Recognition Program in kindergarten through 2nd grade. We have, all of those things work together. When you look at that document for McBlythe, you'll see that all of those components, sight words, phonics, phonemic awareness, guided reading, all of those things are important for the success of our children to become literate. Also in our classrooms, we have, our kids have exposure to technology. For example, maybe Max, ReadWorks, Read Theory, and Ticket to Read. And teachers can use those programs when children are in small group. That's an instructional strategy that they can use for children when they're in center time. Okay, so we also have 20%. So we have the 80% of our children who respond to what all children receive. But then we have 20% of our children who need more support. They need additional support. So they receive all of the Tier 1 supports, or Tier 1 interventions, or preventions. They need additional support. So those are our Tier 2 or Tier 3 students. And their level of prevention and intervention, it differs between the child, based on the child's needs. As the students' needs increase, we can change the frequency and the duration of the intervention, so a child can move up and down tiers and receive certain programs or more than one support, depending on their area of need. So there are some supports listed there that we wanted to make sure you were aware of in our elementary schools. I'm sure you've heard of the early intervention program. That's an additional time when students can be either pulled into a small group by another teacher, or a teacher can go into the classroom and provide reading instruction. We also have our special education program, where children can be served both in the classroom and in a separate class. We offer an after-school enrichment program to our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders to help them in the area of reading. We, of course, have our summer surge program that we implement and focus on reading strategies. This coming up summer, we're actually going to change it just a little bit, and we're going to invite rising 2nd graders this year so that we can really help some children who are having some deficiencies with reading. And then for specialized instruction, so we have some programs in place that are research-based that we can assign to a child or groups of children to help them in their area of weakness. For example, the Fast Forward program, it can help in the area of phonics, fluency, and comprehension. We have the Sunday system, SRA, Reading Mastery and Corrective Reading program, a sight word intervention, the Sounds Abound interactive software that we do in pre-K. We can also assign it for children who are special needs that may need more support with phonemic awareness. And then, of course, Moby Max. So depending on the child, we can change their interventions. Okay. So as we move to grades 6 through 8, you will see some of the, you might notice some of the supports overlap, or some of the prevention overlaps. We feel that several of the programs and structures that we have in place in elementary are also appropriate and effective practices for middle school students. So again, 80% of the students respond to normal instruction and curriculum. And again, at the middle school, we have our McBlythe, we have our instructional units. We have the reading workshop model, which mirrors what we do in elementary school with guided reading. We also do that in middle school. We have the STAR reading program, just like we do in elementary, as well as the accelerated reader program. And then, of course, instructional technology. Some of those similar programs can move up with children, even in middle school. Our supports that we have in place for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 children. We have the remedial education program, which instead of EIP in elementary, it's called the REP program in middle school. It's a reading connections course that we offer to children. We also, of course, have our special education program and our reading connections class geared for special needs students who have a deficiency in reading or an area of disability in reading. The Read 180 program has been very effective in the middle school, and that is the grade level that we can actually start using that program, because children have to have a certain lexile to be able to be on that program. and then the Fast Forward program, which carries on from elementary school. Okay. And then in grades 9 through 12, again, some of the same overlapping supports we have in place. So again, we have our Balanced Literacy Initiative, and we have our instructional units for our students who are in English Language Arts courses. We have the Read 180 program. We actually implemented that this year at the Achievement Center during their Tools for Success intervention time. And then instructional technology programs like Common Lit, News ELA, ReadWorks, No Red Ink, and Read Theory. And a lot of those programs can help determine a child's lexile level, and they can help monitor a child's reading progress, and they can make adjustments to their instruction based on some of these programs. And then for some of those children who need additional supports, even at the high school level, we have a 9th grade remedial education program, or the REP program. So we're offering reading for some children who need additional support. We also have a targeted special education reading course. We offer Fast Forward and Read 180 to some of our children who are struggling readers in high school. And then we have a Comprehension 101 and Comprehension 102 course for identified children in 9th and 10th grade at high school. So we are expanding our supports in high school. So we're very proud of the progress we've made at Mary Persons in this area. So one of the goals in MCBOE is to provide professional learning to make sure our staff are equipped with some strategies and research-based practices, and they're involved, that they can be involved in throughout the year. So just to name a few, we have a session called lap reading that we offer to pre-K and kindergarten teachers and parents. It teaches parents how to read with their children, and how to take a picture book and how to walk them through and show them the pictures, and how to read words to them, and how to engage in conversation. We're doing something really new this year that we're very proud of. Our instructional coaches at the elementary and Christina Chapman, who is our assistant principal at the middle school, we have developed a literacy training. It's geared around MCBOE, and it is a 3-day training for all of our new reading teachers at elementary. So we're very pleased with that. We're excited about that. So we'll be doing classroom observations and providing feedback once we train them to make sure they're implementing all of our expectations for reading. Then we'll go in and visit the classroom and provide feedback. Of course, during our best practices training that we do for our new teachers, we spend 2 days there. We share best practices and strategies with them that they can take back into their reading class. Assessment for learning, we will be doing that training as well with, usually these are year 2, year 3 teachers, so they're still new to our district, but they still might need some more support. Again, we'll focus on some strategies in literacy there. We have completed the Imagine Phonics training in all 3 elementary schools, so we are geared up, ready to go with that program that we will do in addition to their current reading program. Middle Georgia RESA, they've been a big support in the reading workshop model that we implement at our middle school, which mirrors guided reading in elementary. Of course, throughout the year, we have software training as needed on all of the support programs that we have in place. Read 180, Fast Forward, SRA, Sunday, STAR, and Sounds Abound. So throughout the year, you may hear of some training that our teachers are in. Sometimes it's in-house, sometimes we invite people from the outside to come in. And then of course, we always have a family and parent engagement community event that's focused on literacy that we, last year we had a storyteller come to the Fine Arts Center. So we always try to involve our parents in ways to help promote literacy and get them involved. So as a district, we will continue to review and closely monitor our practices and professional development across all grade levels to help ensure that our students' literacy rates increase. We love the idea of looking at what Bartow County is doing, and we're going to meet with our principals to see if there's a way that we can have more volunteers in the school that can help us with reading. I think that's important. So we'll meet with him next Friday, the 23rd. So that might be just some additional support that we can put in the classes. All right? Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
When teachers come to Monroe County, are they given this document so that they can see where their instructional program fits into it, or is that covered in your professional development?
Yes, ma'am.
And the
So,
second part of the question, because you can probably answer together, is there's so many different programs that we use in electronic capabilities. How do they become aware of those programs?
sure. So to answer your first question, all of our new teachers, they're going to be going through the training, the McBly training. Okay, so they will get a copy of this, and it will go in depth with the components of McBly, in particular guided reading. Okay, so we want to make sure that our new teachers, even though they may be seasoned teachers from another district, we do it a certain way. We want to make sure that new teachers,
Is it by school or by system?
we're going to do it as a system so that they hear the same message.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that all three of our elementary school new teachers hear the same thing from our instructional coaches. And in order to determine, as far as, certain schools, certain grade levels use certain programs. So it depends on the grade level. It depends on what the school wants to provide as far as during their center time. Ronnie Shipman is wonderful. He comes in and, will help and share information and support with our instructional technology, our instructional coaches. And as far as knowing exactly what program to put children on, it would depend on this child's need as to if we would put a child on fast forward versus Sunday. So we would, once we've received data on a child, and we can dig a little deeper and see where areas they're struggling in, if it's fluency, we might put them on fast forward. So it just depends on the need of the child and the data that we've collected before we make a decision on which program. But we do that as a team with the teacher, the instructional coach, and usually an interventionist like an EIP teacher or a special education teacher.
I think that's one of the strengths of our program, because I've done systems where the teachers were kind of like, okay, here's your classroom, here's the programs we do. You got no support.
We follow up.
And you really follow up really well with that.
And you have to do it as a team. And of course have the parents involved in that process too. When a child is struggling, it's very important to make sure that we're looking at data to pinpoint the area of deficiency. And it has to be, that intervention has to be tried for at least 6 weeks to see if you see progress. And then if the child's not making progress, then you have to adjust the intervention or the support that's in place. Because every child learns differently. You have to figure out what that child needs.
What you're doing is working, so keep up the good work.
Thank you, Ms. Elder. Any other questions?
Very in-depth. It's good. You covered a lot of territory. All right. Personnel action.
We would recommend the approval of the personnel actions as presented earlier.
I
Okay.
move that we approve the personnel actions as presented earlier.
Okay, motion by Dr. Goster, we approve the personnel actions as recommended, seconded by Mr. Evans. All right. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. And that is unanimous. Okay? All right, financial report. Evan.
All right. See our numbers there for July. They look a little low, but I wanted to remind you that our July salaries and benefits are actually recorded back in June. They're accrued because they're part of last fiscal year's activities. So we have to make a journal entry and back them and make them apply to June. A couple of line items that you'll notice are kind of high on their percentage, general admin and business. Since it is the start of school, a new physical year, that's when a lot of renewals for software licenses, insurance comes due, and those were paid in July. So those percentages are a little bit high, but they will come down. And if you take a note of the fund balance, basically that number is just a number to zero out our budget. Fund balance this time of year is very fluid. It's changing constantly. As we make those accrual entries, it's changing. We should have a better picture of what our fund balance for FY20 is in August, when all of our accruals are completed. We do know that we will be asking for a TAN to cover our September, October, November payrolls. And the TAN is a tax anticipation note. Basically, we're just borrowing the money until we get our tax revenue. Even though the tax notices are going out earlier this year, the due date is still December 20th.
I saw November 20th
Yeah,
somewhere.
November 20th somewhere.
That question came up in the meeting with the tax officials that we had Friday a week ago. According to Ms. Andrews, there is a local policy, a local legislation that puts the due date on December 20th, no matter when the bills go out.
Yeah, she
And
was
some
trying
other-
to November 20th.
In some other counties, they go, they're 60 days after the date of the bill. So there's actually been some conversation of next year's legislature trying to change that. So it will be a 60-day billing
Certainly
cycle.
help us out.
But right now, they're mandated to have a December 20th date.
Maybe send them all out in August.
I don't think anybody having any problem moving the due date away, further away from Christmas.
Right.
I mean, you could pay it a month early, but nobody's gonna do that.
And that's the thing, you know, nobody's gonna
And some
pay.
do,
Yeah,
some actually.
yeah.
Some do pay early.
No, I don't know.
Our tax revenue does increase the month of November, but it's usually not quite enough to cover our payroll, so the bulk of our tax revenue comes in during December and January. So that's why at the next regular board meeting, you know, we'll be asking for the board to issue a TAN. And if you scroll down to I wanted to point this one out. This is our debt service. And that payment of the principal and interest is where we paid off our 2013 and 2014 series bonds. They are paid off and they're gone. So currently all we have now is our 2019 series bonds that was a little over $9 million. That's the only bonds that we currently owe on. And then I also included capital projects here. You can see, excuse me, that as we collect SPLOST dollars, it goes to our capital projects fund, and then when our bond payments come due, we transfer it out. So that's why there's a large transfer out in capital projects over to debt service. So that's what I have for this evening. Are there any questions?
We good? This month with all the accruals, it's just, our financial report is really sort of meaningless, is it not? I mean, you really can't tell, you really doesn't tell you anything. That's what I should say.
Not a whole lot. But we are current on all of our bills, and we do have a little bit of money in the bank.
That's a good thing to be right there.
That's right.
That means you're doing pretty good.
Right.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
We will at the next meeting bring you some information. We met with representative from the Georgia Lottery. And we're gonna bring some figures to the next meeting that I think there's been tons of money spent and back into Monroe County as it relates to pre-K and other things that is
Hope
provided.
Scholarship.
Hope Scholarship, and the amounts are, they kind of took us,
Staggering.
it's staggering. It's staggering. And so we'll provide that, Jackson, if you remember it at the next
We will.
meeting, I think that'll be good for you guys to see. And I appreciate them coming around and sitting down with us and talking about it. Yeah.
I ran into the CEO of the Georgia Lottery at a convenience store in Macon.
Did you?
Yeah. Gretchen Corbin, here she's still. Okay, next on the agenda are school nutrition bids.
Okay. One of the things that our school nutrition department works hard on during the summer is securing bids for food, milk, ice cream, paper, bread, chemicals, produce, and then the services such as temperature monitoring, staffing, and software. So what we're doing tonight is presenting those bids to you. We've got Ms. Singley here to answer any questions that you may have about that. Some of the bids are newly awarded, some of them are rollover bids where we have rolled over the bid from one year to the next. This was a review year for our federal and state procurement process. And so this was practiced as a part of that review and made sure that everything was done, because this was looked at very hard by some of the monitoring folks. But Ms. Singley, any comments just about the process and what you have here?
Oh, it's just getting more and more regulated every year from the USDA, and it just keeps all the T's crossed, I's dotted, and how we procure things, and always fair and competitive when we go out to bid for our various services. So that's what this is designed to do. And sometimes we have several returns on our request for bids. Sometimes it's just one, because we are a small district. And depending on where we are and where the trucks go, and they may choose not to bid, but they may review it every year. Sometimes when you're going through this process and you get a really good bid year, we have the opportunity to roll for 4 years, which means we can maintain the pricing with the same distributor, and that kind of helps with consistency, me to get a better handle on plate cost and quality.
We're
Okay.
open and,
Do a refresh for me, I just uploaded it again as a PDF for you.
Okay. Thank you, Val.
She just fixed it.
Fixes my mistakes.
There we go.
There.
Look at that.
There we
School nutrition is
go.
very special.
Modern technology
Yes, sir.
and people that understand.
So all of the different components, I will point out the very last one on the second page, the software bid. Now, for the past 2 years, we used a different company for software. We as a system, the school nutrition department, and the individual schools were very unhappy with the product that we had, and so they went out for a new bid and awarded it this year, and have been very pleasantly surprised with the progress that's been made as we start the year. Ms. Singley's a lot happier person, her manager's a lot happier person, and so,
Because it's
so
all
we're very
put
pleased with
money
that.
into the kids' account when they don't have it.
Right. So that's one of the biggest changes, was changing the software that is used for everything from the reimbursement rates to the makeup of the meals, the menu tracking, and the nutritional value, so.
If I could add
Sure.
just one more thing, another reason that we went with this company, the payment system, the online payment system, it's called schoolcafe.com, and it's going to open up an opportunity for me to really communicate with the public, with our students, and get immediate feedback. So as we do testings, introduce new items, I can put a survey out there and get, how was the pizza today that we tried and new. So it's going to be very interactive, but also, most importantly, for the nurses and for parents with children that have special allergies or nutrition dietary needs that they have, that's what School Cafe is designed to do. They can go online, look at the menu, find out all that information immediately. That's coming. It's a long process. I'm working diligently to get it up and running, but they have an app. It's just very interactive for parents, so.
Any questions? There's a lot of work behind these numbers, and so we appreciate what Ms. Singley and her staff has done to secure these and get them in place, and very smooth opening of school for school nutrition as well.
Thank you very much.
I did not know till here recently that Mayfield and Barber Milk are the same bottling company.
Dean Foods.
That's what, and who?
Dean Foods.
Dean?
Yes, sir.
All righty, do we need to accept those or?
No, it's already done, they've already been sent in. They follow the process on the State Board of Education for these items, so it's already kind of.
They had to be done to open the school year, so.
We have a request for proposal for high school technology.
Correct. I just wanted to share with you, in July, we opened up an RFP process for vendors to bid for the low voltage remodel of Mary Parsons High School, which is being done in tandem with the remodel happening on the 500 hall and throughout the rest of the building. I'll read a little bit to you. Provides the requirement and evaluative criteria for furnishing and installation consisting of approximately 750 Cat 6 runs terminated and tested from an intermediate distribution frame, and all existing multi-mode fiber runs will be laser optimized for multi-mode fiber. And then
Infrastructure.
the infrastructure, basically, I'll just tell you this, it's a 1984 build. Much of the network that's in that building was done in the early 2000s. There's even a type of cabling up in the ceiling that Mr. Head's probably seen before, token ring. It's an old precursor to cable. And so those are up in the ceilings. We'll be pulling all of that out during Thanksgiving and then also during our Christmas break, and basically giving them a infrastructure foundation that they need to be able to do better with their Wi-Fi, as well as be able to do better in connectivity in classrooms for the 1,100 students who were there, as well as the faculty and staff who were in and out of that building all day.
And how the phones and the.
All of their phones, all of their watches, all of their devices that they bring in. We had 4 bidders for this process. Even though this was on the state bid site, we only had 4. Only 2 of those met the bid specifications, and so we actually went with Southern Electricom Company, who has actually done work for us before. They are out of Mozilla, and they brought to us a competitive price that fit the bill in terms of what we were looking for this project. And this is just an update for you because we'll be placing that on the state bid site that we've awarded this to them tomorrow. Any questions?
Running all Cat 6 and fiber?
Multi-mode fiber. What's there currently is an old-fashioned single-mode fiber.
Do you have fiber supplied to the building?
We do our...
Internet service? Fiber
We have our own private area network that we actually, we lease fiber through Forsyth Cable. And that is how we have a wide area network throughout our system. We have an internet connection with AT&T, and then we have a secondary line that comes from Forsyth Cable. All of that runs over leased lines through Forsyth Cable.
No coax?
No coax.
Yeah.
Thank you, Valerie.
Okay, thank you.
We are looking forward to some, and Dr. Finch and his staff and students, to some improvement at the high school.
You mean Verizon will work in the high school building?
In the future, it will.
When you turn on your Wi-Fi calling, I'm hopeful it's going to work well for you.
You taught me well.
Yes, yes.
Trash agreement.
All right, so to give you a brief update on where we are with the trash agreement between the Board of Education and the county. We're kind of in a waiting pattern. If you remember several months ago, we brought an agreement that the county gave us, asked you to approve it, which you did, sent it back to the county. They wanted to do some other work on it, so they did not approve it, although they had written it. And so they kind of sat it aside, they've done some work on it. They sent us a new agreement, and there were some things in the agreement that are in conflict with the billing process that they have provided us. Okay, so we have gone back to them and said we need to work these things out, we need some clarification on them. So for instance, The agreement provided a monthly billing for services used, but we were presented with a full year's bill for the maximum amount with the agreement. So we said, you know, the agreement says one thing, your bill says something else, we need some clarification. So we have gone back to the county and we are in a waiting pattern to hear from
And
them.
Nolan and I actually meet with Greg in the Monroe meeting. We do a monthly meeting, and we'll talk about that this Friday.
Right.
I have talked with Greg, and he's looking at, I'm sure they're having to have someone maybe legally look at the contract to make sure, because it's not aligned exactly with the numbers that are in there.
So, as soon as we have,
You mean the addition doesn't work?
The wording versus the numbers is kind of what we're checking on right now.
so we'll continue, and at the same time that we're waiting on this, you know, we've looked at what other options might be available to us, and so we'll be bringing that report back to you. in the
I was
future.
wanting to mention that, like, our policy says we take 3 bids, on any contractual services over 10,000. We need 3 competitive bids. So it may be a good idea to get,
If it goes out for a contract right now, it's an intergovernmental agreement. So that would not fall under that bid requirement. If that's what we end up having to do, then we certainly would do that, so. Okay?
Do we want to get any quotes?
I think it'd be a good idea just to see if their price is in line with where other companies are.
I mean, I think our desire would be to continue to work through an intergovernmental agreement if we can iron out the
We own our dumpsters, right?
Yes, we own the
Okay.
compactors that we have.
And we have our own people that work on them, that repair them, right?
That is correct. Okay, all right, we'll keep you posted.
Okay, insurance students, stakeholder engagement and loyalty, and safety update.
So we've got Ms. Napier, our student services coordinator, director, excuse me, and she's going to give us some updates on safety. Remember, a big part of her duties and responsibilities lie in this field, so we're excited to have her be with us tonight and kind of talk about what we're doing in the school system.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Good evening. Just a few of the major safety updates that I've been working on. We're in the process of putting together safety improvements from each school. I've had meetings with each building principal, almost all of them. I'll finish up by the end of the week, to review safety improvement plans and develop comprehensive list based on the needs to submit to the state for approval. And each principal is awarded $30,000 for this purpose. So depending on what they need in their building, that's what they're giving me to generate to start the list. The next thing is the Monroe County Sheriff's Office is in the process of reviewing all of the school safety plans. I put them in a neat little notebook and divided them up so that they can look through each entry. And this will be approved as required by state protocol. So as soon as they look through those, I'll meet with Captain Ogletree and we'll get a sign off for that and documentation for it. We currently have 4 new SROs in the schools this year. We're privileged to have Deputy Kendra Robertson in the back. She's our school resource officer for Hubbard Elementary School. And we also have a total of 5 SROs and Sergeant Blandenberg, who oversees the SROs and serves at the board campus and other campuses as needed. He's always in and out of the building and checking on the new SROs as well. We have developed job duties for the school level school resource officers. We will review these with the principals and the SROs and other system leaders at our safety committee meeting, which is scheduled for September the 4th. We will have quarterly meetings with local safety officials throughout the year to discuss safety issues in the school system and in the community. And finally, we're in the process of scheduling safety walkthroughs for all schools for the school year. Then we have a total of 4 of them that are scheduled quarterly. Does anybody have any questions?
You hit the ground running.
Might just point out the $30,000 per school site is a state grant that will go through an application, but that money will be coming to us from the state. So.
But there's some very good things that the principals are coming up.
Oh,
I don't want
yeah.
to go into detail in open session, but there's some really good ideas because, you know, once we created that safe entrance And then, once we've done that and done some other things, then we're kind of venturing out in some other areas. And some very good things based on the needs of the building and the staff that Pat has brought to me. And so we'll look forward to sharing those, probably share with you during executive session because of the safety nature of what we're doing. But very, very good work by our schools to try to figure out how we can be proactive as it relates to safety.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just going to mention this, we mentioned it last time. Please make sure you send me any topics. We're trying to finalize on the days that we have our trainings, of what to have on those days. The thing that you mentioned was policy versus regulations. We'll make sure we cover that. And any other things that y'all have, just send them to me, and then we'll put together the plan around those things. If not, we just have to choose things that we think you might need to know. So please send those to me.
And that will be in November?
We have, yes, we have a work session in November. The date of it is, Ms. Elmer?
Is that right here? November the 12th? That's my
We
first.
do have one in January.
January 25th and April the 14th.
And that's really all. I just wanted to remind you to send those in, because we have to send a report to the state with our plan and what we're going to do at each of those sessions by the end of next month. I think it's the end of September.
And we will receive credit.
Yes.
Yes, I will make sure. Earn your credit.
In order for us to get this beautiful award, we have to have a certain amount of.
We just had some way to do it.
Yeah. Looks good right there. I'm afraid to do a whole lot with it because it's kind of a little top heavy, but it looks good right there.
So long nobody gets in a fight.
That's right.
Knock
It's
it out.
heavy, it's heavy. It's heavy.
That would be.
Okay, reminders.
Good collection.
All right. Our next call board meeting that we mentioned at the last call meeting is Thursday, August 22nd here in the boardroom for the budget, this year's budget. The next regular board meeting is, if you remember, about, I don't know, it was probably that November session of last year, we talked about as a board trying to open up our message and trying to meet maybe in some different parts of the county, at least during the months of July, August, and September, when we didn't have student and staff recognition. And so Dr. Dahlster has worked with the City of Culloden to host us for our next board meeting, which will be September 10th. Mayor Miller and their council are excited about us being there. And we'll just do our regular meeting. We'll take everything that we need with us. If anybody needs transportation, or we'll be here, we can use the van. If anybody wants to come here and doesn't feel good about driving to Culloden.
I'm very excited about the meeting location, just so y'all know.
And they're very excited because I've seen several of them that are on the, Mayor Miller, I saw her, which they came by and they asked me, was there any particular thing we would like to eat? And, I don't know what to say, but I said, we like cheese straws.
They asked
Cheese straws.
me the same thing, but they confirmed that they would like to host. What would we like to eat?
Why do you say dinner from Lock?
I know I should have, but I didn't want to impose too much, but I think somebody over there in Culloden makes really good cheese straws.
Can we follow you?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I will lead the way.
When you get there, you're there.
Yeah.
How fast you drive?
The Big Top Show is Thursday night at 7 p.m. at Fine Arts Center. And we look forward to a good crowd. Everybody's invited to attend that. We have our first football game. It's actually Friday, August 23rd at Gainesville. We do have a practice game Friday here against Southwest. So we'll host that, and hopefully the weather will cooperate a little bit because it's been really, really hot everywhere. And then Gold Rush is Thursday, August 29th. You know, that's always before our game with Jackson, and we host this year, which will be on the 30th. So those are lots of things that are happening. We've got softball games. I think we're 2-4 in the young season in softball. Cross country is running. I found out Monday they did it in the morning instead of afternoon. That was a good idea because it was hot. So we've got a lot of things happening. Some of our concerts will be coming in the near future. So we'll get that information out once they have time to practice and get that ready to go for us. So, any questions about any dates coming up? All right.
Being none, nothing else? Board members, you got, you have something? Let's see if anybody else, I got it. I heard that.
I've got a motion to add it with.
Okay.
That same.
Okay, we have a motion from, believe it or not, Ms. Bilderback, that we adjourn. Which is standard procedure, and then we have a second. We have a second from Mr. Evans. All in favor of adjourning, signify by raising your hand, and we're out of here before.
Thank you.